Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown's halftime show. Game 3, Heat at Spurs, and it's been a great game so far. I'm glad because obviously after Game 2's debacle in that late third quarter, early fourth, certainly I had some concerns that maybe the Heat was going to come out and do a number on the Spurs, but that was actually the opposite was the case. And the Spurs came out very aggressive, very focused, and definitely took the Heat, put them on their heels early. And they took a very big lead going in the beginning, which is exactly what they wanted to do. They got the crowd into it. They got the Heat kind of all out of sorts on defense. And the bottom line with the whole first half so far has been just that. The Heat defense has been a little bit lacking. In fact, to the point where I believe that the Spurs are getting pretty much every shot they want. And they actually missed enough shots that were a little bit concerning here because they're getting so many great shots, it's kind of crazy. And we grabbed a couple clips of misses just to show you how wide open and how they're doing that. So I'm just trying to get my my NBA.com page doesn't work. It's really bad. It freezes every time. So I just want to check. So right now they're only shooting 41%, and I got to tell you, Popovich has got to be in that locker room right now talking to his guys saying, you know what, it's not that big of a deal. We're getting great shots, and we're going to, if we continue to do that, you're going to see these runs where they go up by 10, go up by 12. The Heat are kind of coming back and had to play really well to get those shots. But then you're going to see again, you're going to see another run, 10, 12, 14, and then maybe the Heat kind of come back, cut it to 8. And if they continue to do this and give up that many great shots, then the Spurs should win going away. So you heard it here first. They cannot keep giving up consistently good shots like that to the Spurs. They've got terrific spacing on the perimeter also, and they're really dragging that Heat defense as far apart as they can. There's no help when that ball starts moving like that. It's really, really impressive. On the other side, the Heat are getting a lot of the shots they want, but the problem there is that a lot of those shots are simply long twos. And they're making some of them. The Heat are shooting right now, we'll call it up in a minute, they're actually shooting 50%, so they're doing well. And they are getting to the basket a little bit. We actually counted up all 34 of their half-court sets. I don't have time to actually go through it and quantify, but just looking at it quickly, again, they didn't do they did one LBJ flash to the free throw line. Again, that in my mind is their best set, and they don't run it hardly ever. It's very strange they don't run it at least 5-6 times. They did post up LeBron quite a bit. I'm looking here right now on my list of my thing for post-ups. 1, 2, 3. Let's see here. 4. Looks like they posted him up 4 times on my quick count. That's not bad. It's 8 for the game. It's about what you'd kind of want. It's sort of on an average regular season game. I think he should be getting 12, 15 post-ups on a night. So they should be posting him up more because they're getting great success. Again, they added a whole new wrinkle. The Heat did a whole new wrinkle again on offense with they're pitching the ball to Wade, who goes all the way around the corner. Wade starts in the corner, gets a pitch from the wing, and then dribbles all the way around and then attacks. And it worked very well. The Spurs were not ready for it, and they got a lot of good shots out of that. So of course they don't run it again. They ran it to start the game twice. And then I think they did it one other time. They snuck it in there 1 or 2 more times. So, I don't know. The way I coach offense is I like to have a rhythm, and you have a sort of structure of plays that you run over and over again. I was watching the '67 Eastern Conference Finals between the Warriors and the Celtics, and those teams don't really run sets at all. They just run their offense. Same offense all the time, and the different options based on what the defense does. That is completely lost in today's age. That is what the triangle does, which is why I like it so much. There is no play calling. They simply play the positions, they read the defense, and they attack accordingly. And here they simply get stuck in these ruts where they'll run something that works and then never get back to it. And either it's Spoelstra not calling it enough or not realizing in game time. He's got all those assistants out there. I don't know why they're not charting these and saying, okay, there's 7 minutes left in the second quarter. We haven't scored in a while. Here's the play that scored 4 times out of 5 in the first quarter. Run it again. They don't seem to do that. It's very weird. And so that's what's missing, I think, on the Heat offense. And so the bottom line is, if this continues the way it goes, I don't see the Spurs losing this game. It's definitely going to be a comfortable win for them because they're simply getting way too many easy shots. And they're going to start making those, and that's going to turn into a debacle. Now, it'll be a very interesting narrative if they blow the Heat out, and then all of a sudden now everyone was counting the Spurs out. The Spurs hadn't won more than, I think, 1/4 of the first 8. They tied like 2 or 3 of them, and the rest of them was all Heat. But you know what? That doesn't mean too much. That fourth quarter of Game 2 I would throw out anyway. They just kind of gave up almost midway through. And it doesn't really matter because the Spurs are going to hold together, play like a team, and do just enough. So to me, that doesn't really mean much when you hear those kind of numbers. Those are kind of stats just to throw out stats. So you're going to have to watch for a lot of these different things. Watch for the Spurs and how they spread their offense and how they get the Heat defense out of position. Wade got caught on a classic helping one pass away, and Danny Green nailed the 3 in his face. Those are the kind of things that they can't do, and they're not disciplined enough. They make up for it with their athletic ability, and that works all the way to the finals. It might not work to get the title. We'll see. Splitter looks terrible. He just, I don't know if it's the block and he's just out of it, but he's never been the best finisher at the rim. His jump hook is kind of funky. It's sort of like Roy Hibbert and him need to both work on it to release it higher with a straight arm. They kind of shot put that. And he's missed a couple of point-blank bunnies. He needs to make those. He's a pro. He needs to make those. Parker started out aggressive, and also, interestingly enough, on offense, the Spurs were a little bit shy about the pocket pass. We saw 4 or 5 times in Game 2 where it got tipped. It looked like it might have gotten kicked and no call, and those are all turnovers. So they used them a little bit more judiciously, and it worked out great. The pocket passes they did throw to the roll man off the screen and roll were terrific and got them great shots. And again, Manu Ginobili had looked like he had cleaned up all the ball handling issues, and then all of a sudden, boom, deflection, turnover, gets stuck up in the air trying to make a pass. So I don't know exactly what it is, because if you're injured and ailing, that sort of means that you might be off a little bit, and that sort of feels like what it is with Manu. But I don't know. We had that dunk. He looked great. So he looks physically like he's okay. There's something weird about it, though, where he's not quite in sync with the ball in his hands and movement out there on the floor. And it's strange. You don't normally see that with Ginobili. So that's the other issue we've seen. And if they could clean that up, then they'd have no problem. Well, let's go to some of our screen shares and look at what we have here. Let's look at the screenshots first. So earlier in the day, like I said, I was watching the 67 Celtics Warriors, and be sure that we are going to we're going to break this game down. We'll have lots of retro breakdowns all summer long, so don't miss those. But just as a detail, look at the audience. They're dressed in their Sunday finest. It's kind of interesting. Back in the 60s, when you went to a basketball game, it was an event, and you dressed accordingly. Certainly not like they do in Miami these days. Okay, they did a little screenshot here on the way to the commercial, and I said, can you name everybody here? So I'll give you the answer. We have here Willis Reed on the right. Remember, he was the one who had to come back with getting a shot in his hip to come back and play in that Game 7. This is Dave DeBusschere, who recently died, unfortunately, and was a fantastic player. This is Senator Bill Bradley with a big smile. This is Walt Clyde Frazier. And I believe this is Dick Barnett over here on the left. I'm practically positive. So a great New York team, a little bit like the Spurs. As we see now, they play that same kind of style. So here we go at halftime. Let's look at this. We don't have the first quarter stats, but the Spurs outscored the Heat by 24-20. We're moving the ball much crisply, and in fact, the Heat were scoring worse. They kind of came at the end there and got a couple baskets. The Spurs really forced them out to the perimeter, shooting a lot of long twos, and the Heat were settling for those because they're kind of designed to get those. And that's a real problem. When they don't attack and they take those long twos, they're very inefficient. In the second quarter, it was a little bit closer with the Spurs again, 26-24, and there was a late run there, a big late run by the Heat to close it. Otherwise, this would be a 12-point game, and primarily because I feel like the Spurs should have had 34 points in this quarter. They really missed out on a number of open shots. Here we go. Miami shooting 45%, so they're staying in it because they are hitting shots from the outside, and they're shooting terrifically from 3. Mike Miller is 3 for 3 from three-point line, doing fantastic, 9 points. Dwayne Wade's doing well, very aggressive, going to the basket, looks strong. LeBron James looks a little bit off, 2 for 8, 6 total rebounds, and 4 assists. So he's doing well in those departments, but he was missing some shots again and settling on those post-ups. And here we have the Spurs shooting 46%, and the lead led by Tim Duncan. He did better on the post in this game. He's still missing a few shots there, but he did make some post shots, which has to be signed for encouragement. And then Tony Parker, 7 assists. He's dicing and slicing them up, very aggressive. 1 for 3 from the line. It looked like he should have gotten at least a couple more free throws. So we'll see what the refs are going to do. They were letting him play, but they certainly, I don't know if that's going to continue at home. I would imagine the Spurs are going to get some home calls. Let's go to our quick time stuff because I have a couple of footage to show you before the halftime is over. Let's see here. Let me fire them up and excuse me, open up the wrong ones. Forgive me. A lot of things to do to prep for this. Okay, let's grab. Okay, they're all open. Let's grab the first one we have here, which is looks like. All right, so the first one we have here is. Let's just watch it and find out. Let's make this a little bit smaller so I can see it. Okay, so we have midway through the first quarter, the Spurs are already up 9-4. They came out like gangbusters and took the heat out of the game early. And very simple. They let Kawhi Leonard turn the corner in transition. So you always want to be able to keep him out of the corner, out of the lane. But let's see here. In transition, they don't do a great job picking him up early, and Wade's going to have to pick him up, which is a mismatch. So Wade lets him get baseline on him, and now when that happens, look, you got 5 defenders pretty much in the lane, and you know the Spurs are going to space the three-point line right away. And then there's a bad closeout by LeBron. He's not going to stay in front of Parker anyway. Parker gets the penetration, no rim protection at all anyway with the way their team is. Very simple dish because they had a help on Parker, and there's the dunk by Tim Duncan. Good stuff. Okay, let's move on to our next highlight, which is let me adjust this here. Okay, so this is the LeBron flash. Okay, this is the best play they run. They almost never run it. So frustrating. You can see Chris Bosh right here in the middle. He's going to set a down screen for LeBron, flashing to the free throw line, and then that becomes a back screen on the weak side. It gets their 3 best players involved. They don't run this enough. So here's the flash. Now look, Danny Green does a nice job at taking it away because remember, they want Dwayne Wade to shoot this ball. They're going to give him all kind of room on the perimeter so they can call it out and know what's happening and take it away. So there goes the pass to LeBron. It's gone. They don't get it. They finally get it, but the flow is interrupted. This is supposed to be a back screen here for Bosh. There's the back screen for Bosh sets it on Wade, and Bosh is going to pop out. And then Wade comes back, gets a down screen. This is nice flow in the offense. Danny Green watches the screen, doesn't get out, and there's a Dwayne Wade shot. Terrific stuff. It has all 3 players. Remember, you sucked in Danny Green to watch the cutter on the free throw line by LeBron, and you have the other 2 of their best players involved. This is what they need to do, and I don't understand why they don't run this play 12 times a game, at least 12 times a game. Stranger than strange. Let's move on to our next clip that we grabbed here quickly. Let's see here. By the way, did you all see that ref jump in the play on the Spurs end? That was really weird. And I watched him. I'm not even sure what he was trying to do because he ran right into the middle to get in a different position. It was very strange. All right, so later on here we have the this is going to be a screen. This is going to be LeBron James screening the ball. Remember they discovered this in Game 2. It was very viable for them when LeBron screens. So here you're going to see, okay, very simple. LeBron feeds the ball to Cole in the corner. Okay, do you all see that? And now he's going to come screen in the corner in the mid-range area. Here's the problem. Look how low he is setting that screen. It's very hard to help on this because they turn the corner, he's right at the basket, and if they help out and he rolls, he's got a layup. So it's good execution by the Heat, and there's the easy jump shot by Norris Cole. Good stuff. Looks like we're getting ready to come back from halftime, but I think we have time for one more, which we have here. Let's see here. We're going to have a very serious Manu looking at us in a second. Let's see here. What is this graphic here? They're telling us that in Game 1, 13 points, in Game 2, 5. He definitely was off, and I don't think it's physical. I think it's something about the mental issue with him is problematic here. Okay, so here's the Spurs offense. I believe we're going to see like just one of their wide open threes. So real simple. They're not even doing that 25 up where they did a little bit where they would screen for the screener. But here, very simple, flat screen, ball screen. It's hard to know which way Tony Parker's going to go. He chooses to the right, Bird is going to do a flat. He's not going to come out hard and show. He's going to flatten out and try and contain, but it's too late. Tony Parker's got a full head of steam, and that means a second defender has to rotate over. Now they're screwed. This is a 2-on-1 on the weak side. Parker is going to throw a beautiful pass right in the money to Bonner. Look how much space he's got. He makes that 75% of the time, and he misses it. I tell you, that's a great shot, and they were getting it all the time. Now here comes in transition. They don't get back. Norris Cole gets to the hoop, and they get a layup, and they get away with him not finishing. So there you have it, sports fans. A lot of great stuff happening right now. But again, like I showed you, the Spurs are getting all the shots they want. And if they continue to do that, they're going to win this game going away. The Spurs, the Heat need to figure out how they can stop the passing from ping-ponging around on the Spurs. They have to get more deflections, get better pressure on the ball. And if they're going to go flat on that screen and roll and try and contain Tony Parker, I just think it's giving him a running head start. So, looks like the second half's going to start. Thanks for joining us. Come back again, same bad time, same bad channel, or same channel here for the post-game show. And then later at 10:30 Pacific time, I'll go on ESPN Radio and offer even more insights. So join us then. We'll see you in a little bit. All right, sports fans, welcome back to our post-game show after Game 3. And what a Game 3 that's been. We had an almost mirror of what happened in Game 2, but I got to say it feels a little bit worse. It seems like the Spurs did even a bigger number on the Heat, which is going to be fascinating because of the narrative here as far as what this means for what the pundits are going to say. It's going to be very strange to see. Let me just do this, and it's going to be very strange to see what they're going to say on ESPN and all those things, because certainly they were putting so much weight on this blowout by the Heat in Game 2 that it felt like they assumed that the Spurs were not nearly as good, and if they're going to win, it's going to be you're going to eke it out barely, and the Heat have a lot more firepower. Well, I would think that this dispels the notion. Now, of course, you got to factor in the fact that those Danny Green and Gary Neal were out of their minds shooting. I mean, let's see here. They ended up, Gary Neal ended up 6 for 10 from 3, and Danny Green 7 for 9. But here's the dirty little secret, and here's a little interesting thing. Those are such wide open shots. They're going to shoot that well. Somebody asked me on Twitter if they think that they can do that again in Game 4, and I said if they get the same kind of looks, then absolutely they're going to shoot. As a team, they shot 50% from 3. They're going to shoot 50% if they get that many open looks. And like I said in the first half of the halftime show, the Spurs were getting those looks. They just weren't knocking them down yet, but you let them get a little bit comfortable, you let them get a couple shots up and get in the flow, and boy, did it rain down on them. Now, throw in the fact that the Heat completely lost sense of what they do best on offense, and we charted everything. And again, they threw in a new wrinkle with this. They threw in this new wrinkle with Dwayne Wade getting a pitch in the corner, and that worked okay. But other than that, they did a lot of 5-out during that key stretch of the third quarter. Now, here's what's happening, because obviously as a coach, when I coach a triangle offense, I didn't want to call plays. I didn't want the players looking back on the bench to see what's happening, what do you want us to run. But Spoelstra does that a lot. And the idea being that he'll give them the initial start and they can read and react and play free, but there's always that sort of look back at the bench. What alignment? Do you want horns? Do you want 5-out? Do you want our pin down for a flash of LeBron at the free throw line? Do you want to run the Ray Allen loop or any kind of pin downs for him? They have a number of sets they got to run. So there's always this notion for me that offensively they're not always in the flow. Especially when they're playing against a good team that can get back, that doesn't turn the ball over too much. The turnovers here were 12 turnovers. It's a little bit hard because it became a blowout, but certainly, they limited their turnovers when it counted for the most part. And so, if you're going to get against a good, sound, fundamental defensive team, all of a sudden that kind of 5-out flow doesn't really work very well. And we saw the Pacers just about kill them. And here we're going to see the Spurs. As far as I know, I got to check, and maybe someone's going to answer on Twitter. I don't think the Heat have been down 2-1 since last year against the Pacers. I don't think. And so it's a really precarious position they're going to be in, because now I got to tell you, if the Spurs get that third win, even if they lose in Game 4 and they go up, let's say 3-2 after Game 5, going back to Miami, I don't know. The Spurs have already proven they can win a game in Miami. And remember, Game 2 was very close until that one big run. Again, either team can go on that big run and and break the game open, but I don't know. I feel like it's a different style. The way the Spurs play, they can control the pace, control the kind of shots they want. Like I said in the first half as well, same thing in the second. The Spurs got every shot they wanted. Every shot, every pass, every shot. There were some turnovers and some decent defense there, but basically I can't picture one possession on offense in that third quarter that the Spurs didn't shoot a shot they want. Now, why does it say my mic is muted? Can you hear me? Maybe that is gone now. Let's see here. Can you hear me? I hope so. Tweet me if you can't hear me. I'll check it out. Anyhow, so it's a real problem on defense with the Heat, because they get so out of position on so much of their defense to gamble. And it works to some degree when they get those steals, but when the Spurs were a little bit wary of throwing that pocket pass at first, they finally got the defense loosened up, and then they were getting those great passes and open looks for three. So we're going to look at really focus on the Spurs offense in our breakdown because we've done a lot of Heat offense, and I want to look at the Spurs offense a little bit and explain how that roll man is so vital to what they do, because it really is the safety valve, and it actually isn't the safety valve. It's the play that will get the most pressure and attack on the Heat defense off the screen and roll is when you hit that roll man. Now, you don't have to hit him right away. You can release pressure by a swing pass and then hit him. So YouTube is telling me that my mic is muted, but I don't think it is. So tweet me right away, if you can hear me or not. I'm just kind of curious. So if you are out there, is anybody out there? Thank you. Thank you, Jeremiah. All right. Let's look at, so what did I go? Do we review everything here? It's a really bad mix between the Heat. They had their offensive sets weren't very good. They were not generating good shots. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute, actually, but as far as the shots they're taking. But the bottom line is they are trying to get LeBron James and Dwayne Wade to shoot as many outside shots as possible. It is no secret. You've seen me talk about it for 2 years now. And it's funny that Pop doesn't want to say that. We'll show you that actual clip on video because it was so funny. But that's the dirty little secret, is if you can keep them out. Now, the other thing is LeBron has now got it in his head. To me, it was clear that he was stuck in his head. He was worried. He didn't want to shoot those outside shots. He even made a few, but his whole body language, he couldn't quite get comfortable out there. And now that they're on the road, and if they can keep him in that position, that they're going to lose this in 5. I swear to God, if he plays one more game with that kind of mindset and that kind of tentativeness, the Heat are going to lose the series. And I don't know if you remember, but I went on Freddie Coleman on ESPN radio and said my dirty little secret was the Spurs could win this game in 5, the series in 5. And right now, it feels like I'm a little bit Nostradamus, and I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but hey, it's rare that I'll go on a limb to that extent and say something that crazy. And I thought it was a little bit crazy, but for some reason I could see it. Now, you're all going to come back and show this clip to me when the Heat win in 6 or 7, right? But either way, it's been that way. So let's see here. Let's go to our screenshots and see what I grabbed here. We'll go through the final box score. Let's see here. Is this it? Let's see here. All right, so let's go back all the way to the beginning. All right, so this is the beginning of the 4th quarter, I believe, and here's Gary Neal, giving you the kind of stats they're looking for. The first 2 games, 21.5 minutes, 8.5 points, 6 for 16. Now, the reason why he got 21 minutes in the first 3 quarters was because he was shooting so well. Now, I like Gary Neal. He's got a great story. If you haven't heard it, look it up. The way he got to college, he had gotten into trouble early and got thrown out. If he went to a good school, and then he got thrown out, and then he had to go through community college, and he made it all the way back after playing all over the place and all over the world. And then he made it. And perfect. A perfect fit for him for the Spurs. So 21 points, 21 minutes, 24 points, 9 for 16. It's almost not even like completely on fire, but 6 for 9 is on fire at least. He missed some easier shots that were inside. And just, he's a tough player. He can really score off that bench. So let's not take away from Gary Neal. He is really, a bona fide microwave, kind of like that Vinnie Johnson that the Pistons used to have in the 80s. Here's the look after that run, early in the 4th. You can only imagine he's got to be thinking, man, let's get us out of here, just like Pop went through it the game before. Although this was more of a craziness because it was all from like 3-point land and from 2 guys. So we finish up here with the final box score. I had to use ESPN because NBA's thing froze again. 41%. They shot well from 3. 44% is very good from 3. They didn't get to the free throw line at all. They couldn't get to the line. They were the refs let them play a little bit. I think they let them play a little bit, but for the most part, pretty good game from them as well. The Heat just couldn't attack in good situations. They would force things that after the Spurs were in position, and that's not going to get you free throws. 16 turnovers was way too high for them because the Spurs don't force that many turnovers, honestly. But 21 assists actually isn't that bad on 31 field goals, and then 36 rebounds real quickly compared to 52. Wow, they got really out-rebounded. These numbers are going to be skewed because of the blowout at the end, but look at the bench production, not much. Mike Miller, a perfect 5 for 5, And even under normal circumstances, the Heat will win if they get that from him and a little bit more from Ray Allen. But look at this. Haslam 0 for 2, no points, 3 rebounds. Now, he was busy with Tim Duncan, did decently on him. LeBron James, 7 for 21. And I got to tell you, of those 21 shots, I would say 14 were from the outside, 1 for 5 from 3. 11 rebounds, 5 assists. You know, that is good, but just clearly not himself, not playing the way he could normally play. You know, Chris Bosh, 4 for 10. Again, he got double-digit rebounds. It's amazing. We'll have to look at that more closely. He's more active all of a sudden, but it's not helping them too much in this game. And then Dwayne Wade, you know, relatively, you know, almost 50% shooting, but you know, didn't really get to the line, didn't get any rebounds, got 5 assists and 4 steals. But, you know, all that was too little, too late. Let's move on to the Spurs. And what's the big name? So we talked about Gary Neal and Danny Green. Danny Green, man, another great story. A guy that couldn't make the Cavs, bounced around, found a home. They trained him. They really taught him his role. And look at that, 7 for 9. And he would do 7 for 9 every game he gets looks like that. It was crazy how open he was. And, you know, Kawhi Leonard, terrific defense. He by the way, the Heat should be careful because Kawhi Leonard started to get some serious confidence out there. He started putting the ball through his legs and kind of attacking Dwayne Wade off the dribble and going to the hole. If he starts to do that on offense, look out. Then the Spurs I think are unbeatable. 12 rebounds for him as well. He's just making plays, 4 steals, terrific defense on LeBron. If he does that and he gets to 14 points and then Tim Duncan getting 12 is fine, 14 boards for him. And Duncan still didn't play as well as he can. And Manu, again, Manu's minute is a problem. He played 23 minutes, and I think that was too many. Ultimately, we have a problem. Manu's got a problem here. He's just off. He's just not handling the pressure really well, and it's an issue. I don't know if they're going to solve it, but the only other solution is to limit those minutes. And if he's not bringing it, then get him out of there. He did do okay for some spots, but there's no question in my mind that he hurt the team a little bit more than he helped in this game. And luckily, it didn't matter for the Spurs because the other guys got hot. But that is a thing you have to look at. And I don't know what it is or why. Maybe we'll find out after the series if it is an injury. But he dunked on that one. He looks good on those plays, so I don't think it's an injury. For whatever reason, he's not adjusting to the raw speed of the Heat for the most part. But the other part is that he's just turning the ball over, getting stuck in the air, doing things he doesn't have to do. So let's jump into some I got a bunch of video I want to go through. Grab some while I had some time at the end of this game. So let's grab it in order. Let's see here. Oh, these are all labeled the same. So I don't know if these are the right order, but let's grab them anyway. So first up is, here we go. This is going to be, well, this might be backwards, but whatever. Actually, you know what? Let's go for it. I think now I figured out the order. Sorry. Live TVs, gentlemen and ladies. If there are, I'm assuming there's some ladies out there. If you are, give us a little shout out. So let me now get back to the right order. Okay, so here we go. 9:40 in the third. Let me get my notes here. All right, this is the Danny Green 3. So, okay, in transition, they bring it down. Now, Wade's got to pick up Kawhi instead of LeBron because they push the ball a little bit. And that's good for them. Kawhi Leonard and Dwayne Wade, it's not a good matchup for the Heat. Okay, so they swing it. Good ball movement to start. Tim Duncan's trying to post, fronting by Haslam. They don't even try and do a lob. Probably because LeBron's back here, but I would like to see them at least try it once. Okay, is this a screen? Okay, look. So at this point, Danny Green's already on fire. Chris Bosh can't be that low on a real simple screen and roll on top. Cannot do it. He has to be at least a step higher. He's tall, get his hand up. And then he's late getting over there. That's not really getting a hand up on a guy that's on that fire. It really isn't, and it's a problem. And someone's calling my house. All right. Let's go to the next one, which is, all right, let me grab it here. All right, so a little bit later in the third. So look, the Spurs already have a 10-point lead, and they're going to come down. Mike Miller just hit a shot, it looked like, to cut it to 10. And, okay, so they do like a bit of a zipper cut, which is when the guy comes from the low post here and cuts to the top. And let's loop for Tony Parker. So here's the loop. 3 screens across the court. First with Kawhi, it's always Tim Duncan finishing the screen because they want him to post up on the end there. very well. This is how you construct an offense. It's not necessarily a mix and match for them. A lot of times, certain offenses will let you have players in certain spots, but the Spurs will make sure they have Tim Duncan, for instance, at the end here, and usually it's Tony Duncan doing that part. Those two positions are usually non-negotiable. Okay. So here's the loop around the court. Remember, the secondary option, if they do a good job on this, is Danny Green popping out. That opens up a whole lot on this side. But Tony Parker is open. This is where the Heat are always at risk. On these pin downs, this is basically a pin down after all that movement. They love to bring the guy who's guarding the last screener up really high, really too far in my mind. That Chris Bosh has to come up and guard him. He's still chasing a wide open pocket pass. They were having trouble making that pocket pass in game 2, but this game they were a lot better at it. So now they rotate over here, which they have to do. This is very good rotation, actually. But Tim Duncan knows they got two guys spotting up, one guy on the wing and one guy on top. He looks at Danny Green. That brings Mike Miller over, and then there's the pass. It's a 2-on-1 with Mike Miller, the only guy back. Let's see here if Dwayne Wade should have been on the way out already. I'm kind of curious. At this point, once the ball was thrown to Danny Green, okay, look, Wade should have already had 2 steps out. He's slow. Get there. Splat. Oh, I'm sorry. Green misses it. This is the Oh, right. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Green misses it, so they do a closeout. This is the 3 offensive rebounds in a row. So that's the problem. When you get that far rotated out, and it all starts from that pin down by Tony Parker, you're going to give up offensive rebounds if they're going aggressive. So who gets the rebound? Right. So if you want to see LeBron James, this is not a box out. Watch LeBron James in the weak side here. Put his arm out. He's got to put a body on Kawhi. Kawhi's been doing this all series long. He gets in there, kicks it out, and there's a Danny Green 3. And call, okay? So that's a real problem. If you want to win these games, in the finals, you got to go all out. You can't just put your arm out and hope that Kawhi Leonard will say, "Oh, hey man, you boxed me out. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go for it." This is the finals. You have to go harder than that. Really frustrating to watch a guy like LeBron do that. Let's go to our next clip, which looks like here. Alrighty. A little bit later in the third. So now they're on a roll 15 points. Let's see here which one. This is okay. This is the Heat defense on the Spurs. Oh, I think I went back too far. Let's go here. Let's skip ahead. Oh, but by the way, here's a good example. This looks like it's out of horns. This is out of horns. LeBron James right where they want him, but look how far he had to step out. So Kawhi Leonard did a very nice job of holding his position and making him catch the ball in the high post. 19'9". That's the college 3, basically. And then he's going to bail him out by shooting it instead of. Remember how he attacked so well? You know what? Even if he missed, the Spurs are happy. So here we go. They're going to watch the Heat are going to switch everything. This is what we're trying to do here to combat all the switching, all the movement by the Spurs, which is really beautiful offense a lot of the time. So here's a by Tony Parker. Always nice to have your point guard set down screens because the defender is not used to being in situations like that. Here comes Manu. So this is my favorite play, by the way, that I like to run. You do a pin down for the guy in the corner, and then you dribble pitch to him coming out. It's almost like a double ball screen or a staggered screen for him. And guess what? Here's Manu going to his left. He's a lefty. He likes to go to his left. And it's going to be another screen. Look at that. And so they switched everything. So here you have Bosh on Manu, LeBron on Tim Duncan, Miller on Kawhi, and Chalmers on Parker. They didn't switch. So LeBron on Tim Duncan. This should be a no-brainer. It should be a score. I don't think LeBron can handle Tim Duncan at all in the post. Clock is winding down. Takes too long. And he ends up bailing him out with a fadeaway. It's not a good shot by Tim Duncan, and he misses it. I know it's one of his patented bank shot stuff, but it's not a good finish for him against a guy like LeBron. He should be finishing strong to the hoop and overpowering him. So let's go to our next. We got a couple more clips. I was enjoying this. I had some time. Oh, let me close that out because I don't want to go through the same one. Let's see what we have here. What's next? What's this one? Let me find it here, folks. I got a few, and they're all on top of each other. All right, here we go. So later in the third, turn off the sound. All right, Here it is, 69. They're down by 17. If they have any hope, there's still plenty of time in this game. This is going to be the possession. They have to run something that's going to be great, that's going to give them a great shot, right? This is what you got to be thinking as LeBron, as Dwayne Wade, as Eric Spoelstra. We need a great shot. So let's see what they end up running down here. Okay. They run the one play that worked for them well in game 2 when they limited it to the number of the plays they do. But again, you know it's really well documented. I don't play. Now look, it actually forced a switch. So you can't complain. The Spurs the Heat get exactly what they want, a switch with an isolation on Tim Duncan. So I can't complain. Good move. And here's the isolation. They go right to the hoop, and he shoots a lefty shot and misses. Okay. It wasn't LeBron's night. I don't know why. There was a little contact before he released the ball early, but you know he's got to make that. It's simply these are the plays you have to make if you're LeBron James. So Spurs come running down, and what happens? Okay, nobody picks up Manu. Okay, you're going to give the Spurs free throws out of this, aren't they? Let me see what happens here. Either way, they miss the layup here, and they give up a foul. You know, it's just not. This is not winning basketball. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. That's how it is. It's not going to win you a game when you do that. All right, a couple more, and we'll get to your questions. So, oh, here I just want to play this. Where is it? I have to find it. Excuse me, it's buried underneath a few here. Here we go. Let me make sure that the sound is up, and I hope you can hear this.
What did you see from your team that got that kind of separation from Miami?
I think we played real solid defense.
Okay, did you hear that? Let me turn it up, make sure you can hear it. So, very, very good answer. They played really.
9 straight to end the quarter. What are you asking for from your defense on him?
I can't tell you that.
Okay. Thanks, Scott.
I love it. That is the best answer I've seen. He can't tell you that. I already told you what the answer is. They're going to give him a cushion and dare him to shoot. And only if he makes 2 or 3 in a row are they going to start to come out. But even then, they're not. And remember, that was the recipe that the Mavericks ran in 2010, and it's working again to perfection. They have to get LeBron back on the block and post him up more. That's going to be one away, but he can't bail him out by not seizing the low post, and he keeps giving up position and coming out too far, and then bailing him out with long shots. It's really a real clear formula. Let's see, what do we have here? All right, so then we have, okay, a real key sequence at the end. I mean, they're down 15. You can say it's over, but I just want to point out some stuff about the end stuff. So here we have the Spurs are down. They want to hold for pretty much one shot. There's 6 seconds difference, but you want to try and get it down as much as you can. Instead of holding it, though, they kind of break into their offense a little early. Now, there's a travel by Manu, probably a foul by Wade as well, no call. So at this point, now they're reeling, and he has to give it up to Joseph, who another second, but he tries to attack. There's Cole just taking it from him. Now, here's the thing about Corey Joseph. Nice story, nice guy. I love the fact that he asked to go down the D-League, but you know what? He's a D-League player. He really isn't an NBA guard. And the only team he'd ever really make it on is someone like the Spurs. So he gets it just ripped from him. They come right down, get a layup. And watch this, though. 6.4 seconds, full court inbound. They got a guy on the ground on his back. This should not happen where they get a shot, a good shot at least, okay? But let's look at what happens here, because this is on the case. The ball is crossing half court at 4 seconds. While there's enough time, in theory, if there's nobody playing defense, you can't have a situation where the guy gets a layup. Now, what happens here? They set a quick screen. Birdman comes running out thinking, well, the clock's running down. Let's just get quick pressure on the ball. Now, LeBron James is worried because Neal is so hot, so he doesn't want to leave him. But you have 3 guys at the ball here, and LeBron James has to go and stop. Okay? He does. This is the guy. Remember, if it gets to Neal, maybe one of these guys can run at him or something, but you'd rather have that than a wide open. They run it perfectly right before the half, and they end up negating that turn and layup that they had given up earlier. That's just not winning basketball, no matter how you take it. Now you could say, okay, fine, the game was already over, but I don't know. These are plays that could get you back in the game in a hurry. So let's move on. We have a couple more, and then we will go to your questions. Don't forget to use the hashtag #YouWin. Let's see here. This is Okay, an out-of-bounds play in the fourth where, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I missed this out of order. Okay, this is before the third. This is left. All right, so they run the pin down. This is almost like the loop for Gary Neal. Goes around, and again, man comes all the way out of position. I don't think he needed to go that far, and now they've rotated over. And they rotate over very well, by the way. I'm impressed by how Spoelstra has gotten them to rotate. I just think that they rotate too much to begin with. That forces all this weak side action. Neal still gets in the middle and kicks it. Ray Allen cannot keep Ginobili out of the lane, and look at that. Now there's a good example of a great pass that Ginobili threw. He doesn't. A lot of them weren't on target, but some of them are. This one's beautiful. That one-handed firing on the rope. They swing the ball around. Oh yes. So anyway, this is perfect defense and just a little bit better offense. That rotation they just did on that swing was amazing. They should have gotten an open shot here. Corey Joseph, this should be an open shot. Now, by the way, he was open. He should be looking to shoot it. But they rotate so well that this should have been an open shot too, and they off. But Gary Neal is just a little bit better on that Euro step floater. Beautiful stuff. And we have one last one, sports fans, before we get to your questions. So let's look at what this was. This was, okay, the beginning of the fourth quarter. And, the game is pretty much out of hand at this point. Let's see here. Oh, they just said 2 screens for Neal. And, they don't – here's what they don't do. They don't play ice in the screen and roll here, which I think they should do. I think that once the screen starts to come, Ray Allen should jump out and force Gary Neal back to the baseline, and LeBron James would sink down. I'm sure they'd be happy to have Kawhi Leonard pop out from 20 to shoot it with the guy coming out at him. But instead, they let him take the ball. And now it's a double screen, and Birdman is already too low. It doesn't realize it's Gary Neal. And LeBron, he should be chasing, because maybe if he chases, he's so big and strong, he could get up and get a hand up. But he goes underneath the screen. Birdman, for a guy that is this hot right now, okay, this is an open shot. You see where Birdman starts his thing? Now, by the time he gets there, it looks like it's close, but this is about, 5-6 feet. That's an wide open shot for a guy like Gary Neal, okay? Even though by the time he gets there, his hand is almost there, that won't do anything for a guy like Gary Neal. Hits the 3, and this game is pretty much over. It's a 20-point lead, and they come down. Do I have it? Let's see here. No. Okay. So there you have it, sports fans. Let's go to our questions. We got 30 lined up here for us, so let's turn it on and fire it up. All righty. Is LeBron an overrated defender? You know what? I've seen LeBron get blown by more often in these playoffs in the last couple rounds than I had in a long time. So I don't know. I feel like he doesn't look as good as he's been. And here's the thing. He so little that it's hard to know how good of a defender he is, because people don't attack him because he's a good defender. But the bottom line is when they actually have attacked him, he hasn't looked so great. So next question. Is Danny Green the most underrated player in the NBA? I actually replied to this on Twitter. I don't think so. I think he's rated pretty well. The guy, he's a spot-up great shooter, doesn't miss many when he's open, doesn't do too much above what he can't do, plays solid defense. He did some nice defense on LeBron, although LeBron in his head kind of was out of it already. So, I don't know exactly if he's too low rated, because he's, I think he's got the respect, at least me. I think he is really, a very good, solid player. At this rate, if Miami wins the finals, will James deserve finals MVP? Let's look at it. Okay, his final numbers were what in this game? LeBron James went 7 for 21, 15 points, 11 rebounds. I mean, listen, if the Heat win, he gets the MVP no matter what. So, yes, there's your answer. Is the LBJ having the same psychological meltdown as he had in 2011? No, it's not like that. I don't think it's like that yet. But we've now seen 2 games with significant stretches where he's gotten stuck in his head and hasn't been able to control the game. I can tell you right now, we've never saw Michael Jordan do that. It's rare that we ever saw Kobe do it. Kobe would control the game even though he'd miss a lot of shots. LeBron seems like he gets a little bit like this, sort of disappears a little bit out there. And it just seems more obvious that for whatever way he carries himself or his face, that he's in his head. So I don't think it's like 2011, but he's certainly there. He's certainly on his way. What's the exact percentage of finals Game 3 winners winning the title? It's 11 of 12 since 1985, which I think is 92%. The one that didn't do it was the Heat against the Mavericks. But yeah, listen, history shows that the Spurs are probably going to win the series. Do you think the Heat doubling the ball handler when Duncan sets the screen is what is killing the Heat? I mean, I think that kind of kills the Heat no matter what. They didn't do it as much, and they looked like they were flattening out a little bit more to sort of contain instead of out-and-out double team. But that certainly is a really big problem. I mean, the big problem they have is when the Spurs can get the ball to the roll man, whether they're doubling hard or they're playing flat or they even sink down. They, in my mind, need to take a lot more, have a lot more concern with the roll man than they are the ball handler. And it's a radical shift to the way they do their defense, and I don't know if they can do that. Usually on defense, you can do much more radical shifts than you can do on offense, but still, that's their big problem. It's just getting the ball to the roll man, whoever it is, and they need to adjust. Now, one adjustment they did do was they would bring the weak side guy over way early to take away the pass, and it seemed to work. The Spurs were unable to really. They should be able to take advantage with a skip pass on that end, but they were having a hard time doing that. So they got to get back to doing that a lot more. Who benefited more from the other, Karl Malone or John Stockton? Wow. Okay, let's get out of this game. I think that Karl Malone benefited more from playing with John Stockton. I'll tell you why. I think that Karl Malone wasn't. He might not be as good as everyone. I'm not exactly sure where we're putting him in the pantheon, but he had some issues. His footwork wasn't great. His jump shot wasn't great. He didn't always come. He didn't always make a lot of plays in the finals against those Bulls teams when he could have. I think he was good and he was great, but not quite on the pantheon of like the all-time greats. So I think that I think John Stockton made him look even better than he was. Statistically, isn't an open LeBron 3 better than a Wade running mid-range shot every time? Well, you could say that since it's a 3, yes, the value is. I mean, it's got to be an open 3. Wade closer to the basket, he'll shoot better than LeBron shooting an open 3 in theory. But the way it's going now, yeah, you'd probably rather have a nice open 3 than any kind of. If it's not going to be a dunk, the way the Heat are shooting, then yeah, you take the open 3 and don't take any kind of mid-range or two-pointer. Yeah, unless it's way at the basket. Has Kawhi Leonard played LeBron better than Jimmy Butler did in these playoffs? I don't think so, but it's pretty close. Kawhi Leonard's been doing an awesome job, but I see the same thing with Jimmy Butler. People want to argue that the Butler had more help. I don't think so. I think that Kawhi has as much help as Butler did, but it's close. They both are doing a nice job limiting his drives and keeping him out of the lane and goading him into shooting longer shots. So it's real tough. I don't think I can pick one above the other right now. What do you think are the chances that Paul leaves LA for Houston or Atlanta? From what I'm hearing, Chris Paul is going to stay, and I got to get out there and talk to more of the local people because I'm sure I can get even more insight into that. I don't think he goes to Atlanta. I think he's got a better situation with the Clippers anyway, as far as the team and the talent goes. Houston's intriguing. I don't know if Houston's going to be able to do it. They're going to decide whether they want to go after Dwight Howard. They can't do both. So that's more on Houston, how they're going to play it. But I think I actually saw a thing where they're going to go after Paul. Is that what I read? Either way, I think they're low. I think he's staying in L.A. Talking about a big 3 in San Antonio is just wrong. Does any team have a better bench? Well, at some point you might want to argue. I mean, who's coming off the bench? Matt Bonner? Okay, Manu Ginobili? Okay, but he ain't playing well. Gary Neal? I like Gary Neal, right? Look at these guys. These guys aren't, and by the way, Boris Diaw didn't play. What happened? I didn't even hear that on the TV. Why did they talk about that? Boris Diaw didn't even get in. That's actually stunning to me. I don't. Is he hurt? Because I don't hear anything about him being hurt. So I don't know. The way they fit in, individually, you can say that they're not nearly as good as who they bring off the bench for the Heat. But the way they fit into their system, yeah, they just play better as a team, and that's the Heat don't have to. They don't need to. They can still win. It's not like they have to play better as a team because they're so good with their talent. But I don't think anyone's going to argue that the Spurs are just a better team with a capital T. Kawhi Leonard breakout star. Well, certainly the Spurs are hoping that as soon as Duncan retires and Parker gets a little too old, Kawhi's going to be the guy. He's got the tools. He's got to improve his offensive game and get more confidence with it. But we've seen moments. His jump shot's not quite there, but if he can continue to improve like he has, then absolutely he would be one of those great Scottie Pippen stars. Like he's basically a Scottie Pippen clone in a way. Why do you think it is much more predictable at the end of every regular season about who will win the NBA championship than hockey or baseball? I don't know. Is it that much? Is it that less predictable in hockey or baseball? I don't know, but I don't know if it's that predictable. I mean, I guess the Heat and Spurs were what everyone would have picked anyway. As an easy choice. I think injuries are more of an issue, at least than baseball. Hockey, I don't know as much about, but I don't know. It's a good question. After 82 games, you can get a real good sense of who's what, and at least I feel like I can. I think a lot of people can. As great as the Spurs are shooting, why can't the Heat close out better? Who's at fault? Tonight was a bad mix of just sort of bad defense and then an avalanche of threes. But remember, again, like I said, we'll show you. I might do a string them out and just show you the montage of all the 3-pointers they took because they were open. Most of them were open. And again, it might not look open to the quick glance because on the release after it's gone, the guy is right there with a hand up. But when you start 6 feet away as he's catching the ball, that's open. So, I mean, listen, it's well documented that I don't like the way the Heat run their offense so much. And that's an issue because you got to be able to get good shots. I'm not talking about, creating layups every time, but you need to be able to consistently get good shots, especially on the road. And I don't feel like they do that. And that's my biggest issue. And then on defense, they gamble too much. So, this is an interesting meeting of the minds. And when things are normal for the Spurs, they win. And if it goes really wrong, they lose. I feel like the Spurs have more leeway here in a way. Does LeBron have the worst 15-11-5 game you've ever seen? I mean, the 15-11-5 ain't so great, right? It really isn't. So I don't know if that's the worst 15-11-5 game. He certainly didn't play that well, and that's and even worse, it's in his head, and that's the big issue. Can he get back to where he is dominant self? You would think he would have gotten through this already, but he's a sensitive guy, and whatever's going on with him, I hope he can figure it out. What would Riley do? Well, Riley, would probably instruct or put in a goon and take a couple hard fouls. Because remember, that's what you got to do. If those guys are shooting that well, you got to foul the guy. You got to get a body up on him. You got to get physical, get them out of their rhythm. When you let them run around like that, like crazy, of course they're going to nail shots, and then you let them shoot them open. So Riley would probably have him get much more physical on defense, take a hard foul or two, maybe a guy gets thrown out, something to change up the whole the mental and the whole the rhythm of the game. Danny Green is the leading scorer in the NBA Final. What? He is? Oh, really? Really? Oh, everybody? Huh? That's the. Well, I'm very surprised. You caught me. Great find on that stat. Listen, it's a testament to their system, and Danny Green better thank every one of his teammates for that because he doesn't, create too much on his own. A little bit, but really it's all about playing in the system, and it's a nice testament to a guy who will stick to his role and play it that way. How many times did Miami run horns? Oh my goodness! All right, you want to put up with me while I look at it real quick? I stopped charting, by the way, after the 20-some points. But of the first 55 possessions in the half court, let me. Oh, you know what? Let's do a find horns. Well, 9 times, 9 out of 50, 9 out of 55. What is that for possessions here? Let me get my calculator. So 16% of the time. Too low. Should be over 20. And by the way, if you want to know if they scored, 1, 2, 3, 4. They scored on 4 of them, so 8 points in 9 possessions, and plus, and they got a foul on another one. So almost 1.0 point possession. Pretty good. You think Spurs can sustain the shooting for the next 2 games? Okay, I think we answered this on Twitter. Yes, if they're going to get those open looks, absolutely they're going to sustain that kind of shooting because they're wide open. Let's see here, number 20. Who do you think is the best perimeter defender, Paul, George, Kawhi Leonard, or Jimmy Butler? All right, this is another great question. Good find, Joey. I want to give a quick shout out to Joey out there who's doing the questions for us. Great stuff out there, and really thanks for helping me. You know what? I would take any of those. And I really, it's like, picking your favorite child. They're all terrific. They're all of the same ilk. They're all long and crazy long arms and really quick and lateral. And they know how to read. I don't know. I don't know. I guess Jimmy Butler might be the most physical of all those. And I might like that the most. But man, I would take any of them in a heartbeat and wouldn't be sad. Why do you think LeBron started so slow the past 2 games? Didn't have any tape on his knee tonight. I don't think he's injured. It's a really good question, and there's a certain mindset you need to be able to get. You have to warm up a certain way and get focused and get concentrating, and I don't know. It's weird. It's just sometimes it happens, and you know what? He could turn around and have 3 games in a row that are amazing, and we could forget about these. But the mind is a very complex thing. It's hard to get in there and figure out what it is. But if the Heat don't figure it out in a hurry, this is going to be over in a hurry. It is very interesting to watch the young players like Steph Curry. You think this draft class is the spark too? Well, everyone's saying no, but you know what? Even though they say it's the worst draft class of them all, there's always going to be 2 or 3 players that pop up that are going to be good. You're like, oh wow, it actually wasn't such a bad draft. So. There are some good players and some players that played a couple of years in college, so they should be more polished and ready to go. So I anticipate seeing some decent stuff. We're going to do, by the way, a draft preview, and then after the draft, an analysis of the draft. So stay tuned for that. We'll have a lot of great content like that coming up. Should we think of Wade as a poor man's Tony Allen at this point? No way. Wade doesn't play defense like that at all, believe me. Now, if you want to talk about offensively, no way. He's still so much better than Tony Allen, Simon Close. So that is a troll. With the way Dwayne Wade is declining, is this Miami's last shot at the title? I said this at the end of in the middle of the Pacers series that I do think it is. We've already seen Wade do this now for 3 seasons in a row, having moments of just looking really bad, and then he gets back into it a little bit. But I think the guy's breaking down. I don't blame him. The guy's knees are bad. He's in pain, I'm sure. This might be their last big shot, and it'll be interesting to see what they do in the offseason because you heard that little rumor about Bosch for the number 4 pick, and I don't know if I put much stock in that, but. I don't know. They might look at that and see. Now, will they trade Wade? I don't think he's got much value with that contract he's got, so they probably couldn't move him even if they wanted to, which they probably won't. So it'll be an interesting offseason if they don't win it. Your thoughts on Ginobili's play? I think Neal needs some of his minutes. Absolutely. They have to have a quicker leash on Ginobili if he's not going to come bring it. Now, he did do enough. He did do some of those things. That are good. So you kind of want to play through it, see if you can get through it. But there definitely was a moment in that third quarter, I think, where I'm like, just get him out of there because he's not helping, and he's hurting more than he's helping. And by the way, Gary Neal could turn around and go 0 for 10 tomorrow in the game 4. You never know. I mean, he is a bit streaky like that. He might not get those open looks again. In fact, I doubt he will. But, I think DeJuan Blair should average 25 minutes per game. You know what? They just don't need him. They have Splitter, who's got a lot more length, and he does a lot of similar things. Although Splitter was not good finishing at the rim. At the end, he got a couple of dunks, or one at least. But I like DeJuan Blair. You know what? He merits probably some playing time. The problem is he hasn't been in the rotation all year. You don't want to disrupt that in a close game. So I understand why Pop's not doing it. But I guarantee you, if they need him in a pinch and it's a crucial point and they throw him out there, he'll do something good for the Spurs. So don't forget about DeJuan Blair. Should we be worried about the big 3 only scoring 25 points today? I think the biggest worry is LeBron. He needs to have more of a Herculean effort out there. He's got to really bring it and get that 30, 15, and 10. You know what I mean? He's going to have to bring it. Wade's not having it. It doesn't look like he's going to get it turned around. But what they really should be concerned about is like his mindset. He just doesn't look engaged, and he's not creating plays. He's not finishing plays. There's something going on with his whole demeanor. He's got to change, and he's got to change in a hurry. Spurs, the best executing team in the league. Absolutely, bar none, by far, the best executing team on both ends for sure. Is Kawhi Leonard the best wing defender in the game? Well, we kind of already talked about this. I can't choose. Maybe we go to Jimmy Butler because he's more physical. But that's I'll take either. I'll take any of those guys. How is Leonard shutting down LeBron? What scheme is Pop running for this? He's just giving him a lot of room, okay? He's not letting him catch the ball in the low post close. He's getting the body down and pushing him out farther, and LeBron's letting him. And then if he gets the ball on the perimeter, he's giving him 4 or 5 feet. That's it, daring him to shoot it. And I know that's like it gets into your head sometimes, and that's not easy to deal with. Guys like Ray Allen are better at that, but they but not LeBron necessarily. It's not. He's a good shooter, but it's not really his thing. So that's all they're doing. They're giving him a big cushion, and they're helping early, and they're going to double on the below post if he gets too close. But it's real simple stuff. Everyone seems to know this. We've been showing it for 2 years now, but they're executing it. They ask Kawhi Leonard. They make it very clear what he's got to do. There's no question mark about it. The Heat don't make it that hard on them with their offense. They don't. They got better spacing when he posted up in Game 2, and we'll look at Game 3 and how that worked. But the help is coming easy on the post ups, and they're not posting up enough. In fact, let me see if I can do this. I think I spent LeBron post up. Looks like 6 times. But I think, and 4 of those were in the first half and only 2 in the second. So, they're not doing that enough either. It's a devastating play. They're not flashing him to the wing. So there's a lot of things that he can do offensively with their set calling that can get LeBron going better and get the team going better than not doing. So we'll see if they can adjust to that. Don't forget, in about an hour and 12 minutes, I'm going to be up on ESPN Radio. So why don't you all come, show them a big boost in the ratings, and show what kind of power the B-Ball Breakdown has. And and I'll probably, will have me on more. We've already done, I'm not sure, three of them at least. And I'm enjoying them. I wonder, have you guys been listening? Because we've been posting them. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are. But so don't miss that, and don't miss our breakdown. We'll have fresh for you tomorrow. And don't forget, get on Twitter, ask us questions. If I don't get them on live, I'll get to you right now. And follow us, because we have these great conversations. On Sunday morning, we had an amazing thing where we talked really heartfelt about the Heat, about how I feel the game should be played, and had a great conversation for about an hour and a half. And if you're not on Twitter following us, you're going to miss that stuff. So, okay, ESPN Radio in about an hour, Twitter all day, all night, and stay tuned for our breakdown coming up tomorrow. Because don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?